You know, guys, I was intending on coming out here today and working on some barrier drills and doing some videos for you guys, but this morning when I was driving my girls to school, I was listening to the news, and even though I am a Republican, I listen to all the different news outlets, and this morning I was listening to NPR on the radio. Listening to the report emotionally shut me down, and what I mean by that is they were talking about how yesterday President Trump met with school teachers and kids who were survivors from the shooting last week in Florida, and how the big tone of the report was to give our youth a voice. I'm going to say something here that's going to shock a lot of people, but take it or leave it, I don't really care. I'm the parent of 3 teenagers, 19, 17, and 15. Not a single one of my children deserves a political voice. Hear what I'm saying here. My children are treated equitably, and they're treated in the democratic fashion where they have now reached a point where my wife and I will stop and we will listen to them versus laying down the law as a parent. All of my children, from the 19-year-old down to the 15-year-old, have reached a point in their lives where it is incumbent upon me and my wife to listen to them for the structure of the family. But that does not mean that I would allow or encourage my children to stand in front of a city council, to stand in front of a president, to stand in front of Congress, and to give their opinion. Our children are being used against us. What occurred in Florida last week with that idiot shooting the school up, that's reprehensible behavior. I get it, but no one, not a single individual anywhere, got bent out of shape on September 11th, 2001, when the World Trade Center was attacked, when the Pentagon was attacked. No one said, we need to put a stop to these airplanes. Every time there's a shooting, what do they attack? These things. Specifically, these things right here. But I'm telling you right now, this tool is used for good infinitely more times than it's ever used for evil. When I heard the report of the shooting at the school in Florida, one of my daughters said it to me. She said, Dad, there was a shooting today in Florida at a school. And my response was, whatever. Now, that may come across as callous to some of you, and I get that. Understand that that comment from me was not one of callousness, it was one of wonderful, ooh, wow, big surprise, one more shooting. Where that comes from is having been a police officer, having dealt with the town managers, with the administration of the town where I lived, where we had the biggest high school in the county. And we had one school resource officer who was woefully outgunned, woefully undertrained. He was terrible with a firearm. Every single year that we did qualifications, he had to go through remediation just to make the 70-something, 75% I think is what it was, the passing score on the firearms proficiency test. And this guy was the school resource officer. Now, for those of you who are anti-gunners who may actually get a hold of this video, I beg of you, listen to what I'm about to say to you. You are being fed the bait, hook, line, and sinker that this is the problem. This is not the problem. The problem is that the people who are in charge of our school safety don't give a damn about your children because it costs too much to protect your children. It costs too much to have someone like me to be in that school who is armed, who is well trained, who knows what they're doing with a firearm, and who has the intent and the will to kill if someone is exhibiting behavior that is threatening toward our children. Now understand, I just used a word that's evil to most people, kill. If you don't understand that kill is a good thing, then this fight's already lost. Violence is a very good thing when it's used for the right reasons. We will never fix the problems with school safety in America until we come to grips with the fact that we need to have more armed people in the buildings at all times. We need to have locked doors at all times. We need to have a mindset, a national mindset of being a fighting nation, not a pansy lay-down nation of a bunch of victims. We have got to stand up, folks. I don't even know how to fix this problem because it is so endemic at this point that I fear that America is already lost. To tell me that a national discussion on firearms is somehow going to fix the problem is the dumbest thing I've heard. And guys, I'm pretty much 46 now. So I'm 46 years old. In the very short time that I've had on this earth, I have watched 1994, the Clinton ban. I watched it sort of partially get discussed and kind of argued in '04, and then it of course went away under President Bush. Praise God for that, because all that ban really did was turn these things into $40 a pop versus the $2 or $3 that they used to be. I watched again in '08 with the Obama, with the presidential elections where Obama got in, and all of a sudden, sure enough, everything happened all over again. And then once again in 2012 with Sandy Hook. I've watched these undulating waves in our national discussion. You know, our guns are under attack, they're not under attack. Our guns are under attack, they're not under attack. And you know, what is really sad about all this, and I'll close with this, is the Republican Party is terribly fractured right now. With a Republican president, well, we'll just leave it at, with a Republican government in control right now. House, Senate, White House, right? Here we are, supposedly in a position where the rights of gun owners should be supported. We have the NRA bowing down. We have the president who's basically said we need to go ahead and ban bump stocks. The firearms industry and the Second Amendment as a whole are in a position right now where we are so busy infighting amongst ourselves that we have lost sight of the fact that we are being attacked clandestinely this go around. And now let me be very clear with you. I couldn't give a flying flip about a bump stock. I couldn't give a flying flip about the triggers that turn AR-15s into these pseudo machine guns where you pull the trigger and it fires, you release the trigger and it fires. Guys, those are the dumbest thing I've ever seen on the planet. The reason I don't want to see them getting attacked is that eventually, if we give them that, eventually they will come after the type of grease you put on your trigger. You think this is semantics? Trust me, guys. I've been around long enough to see the patterns. If you give them one thing, they'll take 10 more. You give them those 10, they'll take 20 more. I've been watching this pattern for years. I've watched AR-15s go from being a $3,000 to $4,000 weapon to now being a $1,500 weapon. And it will, if we head down this road again, this thing will once again be a $4,000 weapon. And I really don't want it to be a $4,000 weapon. I want America to be able to enjoy the freedoms that our founding fathers bled and died for and laid down on paper and said, this is what it is. The right to keep and bear arms at a certain level isn't even really about the firearms. It's about the freedom that those firearms represent, which leads me back to the original point that I was making. Every time that there is a mass killing, people get bent about this, and yet nobody gets bent about the car that was driven down the streets of Manhattan that bowled a bunch of people over. No one gets bent out of shape when, September 11th, when the aircraft were grabbed, or when trucks get driven into parades, or any number of other things that get used. When somebody decides to use a knife to hack a bunch of people, no one gets angry about the knife, but everyone gets angry at this. Folks, it's not about guns. It's about control. The politicians want to control you and me. And the only way that they can control us is to get rid of this. And if we give them this, they will own us. Think, please. Think. As always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out in practice. Have a good one.